Did you know that a lack of focus is actually an emotional issue, not a mental or a cognitive one? Most people think that if they struggle with focus, the problem has got to be with their brain. Maybe they're just not disciplined enough, or maybe it's a lack of executive function, or there's something wrong with their hormones, or they're just too busy, or too scattered, or too disorganized to stay on task. But those are all symptoms of the surface level problem. The real issue is hiding in plain sight. It's emotional dysregulation in the background of our minds. And it's usually this kind of dysregulation that happens from repressing big emotions because they either feel like they're too big or too inconvenient to deal with. After all, we have much, much bigger and more important things to focus on than problematic emotions, right? This is so important to understand because when we get this part right, understanding our emotional regulation, we're going to use the right tools to solve the right problem. Most people lean in harder when focus is off. Like my friend says, just caffeinate and try harder. Well, I did that for years in my career, and all I got was a body and a nervous system that was wildly out of pace with myself, screaming at me to slow down and to not put so much pressure on my work or my body. It's hard to do though, because when you're working for big financial goals or taking care of a family or supporting a community or all of the above, there's a lot of pressure on the system. But when your nervous system doesn't feel safe, when it's constantly managing invisible tension or repressed emotions or unmet needs, your body's going to go into a protective mode. And some people like to call this survival mode. That protective mode is not where clarity lives. Cognitive ability and cognitive intelligence depends on you feeling safe. And your emotional world, if it's agitated or feeling uncertain or afraid, your mind is going to instinctively scatter so it can soothe all of these unseen stressors that you've got going on in the background. That's going to leave less cognitive energy for you to focus on what is right in front of you. So, for the purposes of this workshop, we're going to call this emotional interference. And emotional interference looks like chronic overthinking. It looks like procrastination on things that you actually care about and want to do. It looks like restlessness when sitting down to work on a project. It looks like low-grade anxiety or agitation when faced with a big decision or even just small decisions. And emotional dysregulation can also have us seeking constant external stimulation. So if any of these have ever affected you, it's okay. You are not broken. There is nothing wrong with you. You're simply carrying more emotions than is helpful to your system right now. But there is a solution, and it starts with your emotional intelligence. There are only 6 emotions that make up the entirety of the human experience, which is wild. And these emotions are happy, sad, fearful, disgusted, angry, and surprised and confused. And surprised and confused are actually one emotion that takes 2 different paths. So when you check in with your mind and your nervous system to see which of these emotions is most dominant for you right now, you're nearly halfway to creating more focus. So let's try it. Out of these emotions, which one feels biggest to you right now? Happy, sad, fearful, angry, surprised, disgusted, or confused? Whatever the answer is, let that be okay. If you're ready to move through this emotion and to get to a more focused mind, take the next step. Set a timer for 90 seconds and focus on that emotion. Imagine that that emotion wants to talk to you and it wants to tell you all kinds of things that it's thinking right now. And believe me, the things that it wants to say, they're going to feel pressured, they're going to feel weird, but all that emotion wants is your attention, and it's going to say whatever it wants to say. You don't have to believe it, you simply have to observe it. But that brings us back to the topic of attention. Focus is your brain saying, this thing right here, it matters to me. What you pay attention to is what you say matters. And the more emotionally balanced you are, the more easily your brain will focus on what matters to you most. And the more focused you are, the more empowered you become. And the more empowered you become, the more badass of a life that you get to create for yourself. But you must understand it is not enough to just think clearly anymore. It's about feeling grounded and steady and secure in all parts of your mind, body, and spirit. That's what's going to create your wealth and your best life. So, for a walkthrough on how to gain more focus the intuition mindset way, let's take step one. Pause and check in. Before starting a task, ask yourself, what emotion am I carrying right now? Happy, sad, fearful, angry, surprised, disgusted, or confused. Whatever it is, just observe it. Judgment is not needed. And now we're going to have you set a timer for 90 seconds to hang out with that emotion, and you're going to let it say whatever it wants to say. Next, choose the task that you'd like to focus on, maybe for the next 45 minutes. The brain does really well when it knows it's working within a specific time block. So set that timer for 45 minutes with your task. But now I want you to imagine or visualize or pretend that you've completed that task. How do you feel? Happy, joyful, inspired, something else? Once you have that chosen emotion, focus on what that emotion feels like in your body. Now start your task. Even if you set a timer or you set some music for that 45 minutes, go ahead and start working on that task now. After you've hung out with the emotion that was problematic, after you chose the emotion of how you're going to feel after you complete the task, you're ready to start the task. My hope is that this brought you a tool so that you can be more in tune with your focus and your badass brain. You have some magic to create. Let's get started.